The sky is still that soft purple blue. Roosters are testing out their voices in the distance, and out in the rice fields, you can hear just one thing moving. A pair of bare feet stepping onto a bamboo ladder that leans against a tall, straight palm. Up there, maybe 20 meters above the field, a figure ties his scarf a little tighter, whispers a quick greeting to the tree, and leans in with a small knife, the first cut of the morning. A few clear drops of sap gather at the edge, then fall, one by one, into the waiting gourd below. That sound, that sweetness, will become someone's coffee, someone's dessert, someone's memory of home. Welcome to Ancient Echoes, where we journey through time and tradition, and, well, let the stories of Cambodia's past quietly walk beside us in the present. I'm your host, James Bradley.
And I'm your co-host, Samnang Bradley. Today, we're leaving the big stone temples behind for a moment and looking up at something a little more everyday, and honestly just as important to Khmer life, the sugar palm, or Tonle Thnot.
If you've ever seen a photo of the Cambodian countryside, you've probably seen them. Those tall, graceful palms dotted like exclamation points along the edge of the rice fields. But this tree is more than a pretty silhouette. It's what some people call Cambodia's many-handed tree, because every part of it seems to be doing a different job.
Yeah, one hand is giving you sugar for your morning coffee. Another hand is shading your house. Another is holding up your roof. Another is weaving a basket. And somehow, it still has a hand left to show up in our proverbs, folktales, and even jokes.
So today, we're going to climb, tap, and taste our way through this one incredible tree. We're talking how the sap is collected, how it becomes jaggery and sweets and drinks, how the wood and leaves turn into houses and toys, and why so many Khmer people say the sugar palm is like a mother and father to the village.
And we are not doing that alone. We have two wonderful guests with us. First, joining us from Phnom Penh, though I know her heart is half in the library and half in the rice fields, is ethnobotanist Dr. Dara, who has spent years studying how Cambodian communities live with and use plants like the sugar palm.
Thank you, James and Samnang. I'm very happy to be here. Whenever someone wants to talk about Tonle Thnot, I feel like I'm being invited to talk about an old family friend.
And from a village not far from Kampong Spu, which is like a sugar palm kingdom, we have Vana. His family has been tapping palms for generations. So while some of us only look up at these trees, he actually spends a good part of his life way up there.
Hello, everyone. Yes, my office is a bamboo ladder. My neighbors always joke that I know the tops of the trees better than the road in front of my house.
We're honored to have both of you. So let's start on the ground before we climb, literally. For listeners who've never stood in a Cambodian rice field, never seen a sugar palm up close, Dara, can you help us meet the Tonle Thnot properly?
Sure. So if you imagine standing in a wide, flat field of rice, the sugar palm rises straight up like a dark brown column. The trunk is quite slim and strong, usually with little scars from where people once hammered in bamboo steps. At the top, it suddenly explodes into a round crown of fan-shaped leaves, big, green fans that rustle loudly in the wind. Those fans are important. They cast this beautiful, dappled shade, and from very far away, that shape becomes a kind of signature of the Cambodian countryside.
And they're not planted in neat straight rows usually, right? They kind of stand alone or in little clusters along dikes, paths, the edges of paddies, almost like they are keeping watch.
Exactly. They grow where there's enough water, but also good drainage, so they often mark boundaries or older pathways. That's part of why they show up so often in paintings and old photographs. They frame the landscape. In Khmer art and language, the sugar palm is almost shorthand for home in the countryside.
I've noticed that too, even on postcards. You draw a single rice field with a sugar palm or two on the horizon, and suddenly it feels unmistakably Cambodian.
And in our language, we talk about it all the time. You'll hear older people say things like, "Without rice and sugar palm, the village cannot stand." It's not a scientific definition, but it tells you how deeply people feel about this tree.
So we have this tall, watchful figure in the fields, part of the countryside skyline, and part of how people even describe a good life. But of course, the real intimacy happens when somebody actually climbs it. Vanna, can we go with you on a typical morning? Take us from the moment you wake up to the first drops of sap hitting that gourd.
Okay, so my day starts very early, around 4 o'clock when it's still dark and the air is cool. First thing, I make a small pot of tea. If I forget that, I climb slowly the whole morning. Then I prepare my tools, my knife, which is always sharp, my bamboo ladder or the little notches on the trunk if it's an old tree, and the containers. In my village, we still like to use natural gourds or bamboo tubes, sometimes plastic bottles now, but the old ways keep the flavor better, I think.
How many trees are you visiting in a morning?
In peak season, maybe 20, sometimes more. So you climb up, climb down, move the ladder, climb up again. By 9 o'clock, you don't need a gym.
I believe it. My legs hurt just imagining that.
Before I climb the first tree, I usually stand there for a moment. I touch the trunk with my hand, and in my mind I say, "Please, help take care of my family again today, and I will try to take care of you." It's not a big ritual with many words, just a quiet habit I learned from my father.
That's beautiful. Almost like greeting an elder in the village.
Yes. Then I climb. The bamboo ladder is tied against the trunk. It moves a little, so you must trust your body and the tree. When you reach the top, the wind is stronger, and you can see the whole village waking up. Smoke from breakfast fires, dogs running, motorbikes starting. I walk along the crown, holding the leaf bases like handles. Where the flower stalks come out, that's where we cut. A few days before, we already bruised or tied them, so they will give sap. Now we open them a little with the knife, very carefully, so we don't damage the whole stalk, and we hang the container under the cut.
So you're literally walking in the treetops, moving from one stalk to another, making these precise cuts while the sun is just starting to rise.
Yes, and sometimes talking to the birds. Also, checking for snakes. They like the same height as me.
I was going to ask about that. What kind of safety tricks do you use besides chatting with the birds?
Good feet, good hands, no rushing. We learn where to place weight, how to move slowly but surely. Some tappers tie a rope around their waist and the trunk when they work on one spot. And we always check our ladders and steps. One broken step can change your whole life.
You can see from Vanna's story that tapping is not just a job. It's a kind of dance with the tree. There is technique, yes, but also respect, patience, and a sense that you depend on one another.
So the sap drips down into these hanging gourds all morning. When do you come back to collect it?
Usually late morning and again in the evening. The sap is sweetest when it's very fresh. If the day is hot, it can start to ferment quickly, so you don't want to leave it too long in the tree.
That brings us perfectly to the taste. So we've followed the sap down from the treetop. Now it meets the fire. Dara, can you walk us through what happens when this clear liquid arrives in the kitchen?
When the fresh sap comes in, it's almost like a delicacy on its own. It's slightly cloudy, very mildly sweet, almost like coconut water, but with its own character. Some people like to drink it just like that, early in the morning. But for sugar, you pour it into a large, wide pan, often over a wood fire, and start to boil. As the water evaporates, the smell changes. First, it's fresh and light, then it becomes deeper, almost caramel-like. You have to stir and watch it, skim off any foam until it thickens into a golden syrup.
I can smell that right now. That moment when the whole house smells like sugar and smoke. That's childhood for so many people.
Yes, when it reaches the right thickness, you pour it into molds, sometimes just small bowls or even on a leaf to cool. It sets into what many people call palm jaggery, solid pieces you can store, break, or grate.
And that jaggery becomes the quiet hero behind so many Cambodian sweets, right? It melts into your morning coffee. It hides inside little cakes.
Oh yes, think about Nam Ansam, the sticky rice cakes wrapped in banana leaves for weddings and festivals. Inside, that palm sugar gives this deep, almost smoky sweetness. Or the simple dessert of palm sugar syrup over shaved ice and coconut milk on a hot afternoon.
In my village, when there is a wedding, you will see big pots of sweet soups and cakes. People will say, "This couple will have a sweet life, like palm sugar." It sounds simple, but when you have worked for that sugar, it means a lot. And then there's the other path for the sap. If you let it ferment just a bit, it becomes a mild palm wine. In some places, older men joke that this is their favorite medicine for talking with friends in the evening.
We'll keep this a family-friendly show, so we won't go too far down the wine path today. But it's important to say, this one tree is providing a whole spectrum of drinks and sweets, from children's desserts at New Year to the quiet glass someone shares at sunset. And that's just the kitchen. Outside the kitchen, this many-handed tree keeps working. Dara, can we talk about the body of the tree, the trunk, the leaves, the fibers? How does one sugar palm help build a home?
Sure. Let's start at the top again with the leaves. Each leaf has a strong central stalk with many stiff segments, like fingers on a fan. Those segments can be split and woven into roofing tiles. If you walk in a village and see a house with overlapping grayish-brown panels on the roof, there's a good chance they are palm leaves. The same leaves, when cut more finely, become mats, baskets, even fans to wave away the heat. Children might fold them into little toys, like birds or simple hats. So already, the tree is part of play, of work, of shelter.
I remember sitting with my grandmother as she wove palm leaf baskets, and she would tell stories the whole time. About spirits, about rice, about the old days. So for me, the sound of palm leaves being folded and pressed together is also the sound of storytelling.
For us, the trunk of the sugar palm is also important. When the tree is very old and no longer giving good sap, we don't just cut it and forget. The wood is strong and dark with a beautiful pattern. We use it for posts, floors, sometimes for simple furniture. It's like the tree's last gift.
So, from the roof over your head to the floor under your feet, the sugar palm is literally holding up the house.
Yes, and even smaller parts matter. The fibers from certain parts of the tree can be twisted into ropes or brooms. The flower stalks, after tapping, can be dried and used as fuel. It's very close to a zero-waste relationship.
Listening to all this, it makes perfect sense that people don't just see the sugar palm as a resource, but almost as a relative. Samnang, can we talk about the stories, the sayings, the personality of this tree in Khmer culture?
Yes. One common saying people love is that the sugar palm is like mother and father. What they mean is, it clothes you, feeds you, shelters you. In a poor household, if you have a few sugar palms, you have a way to earn, to eat, to build. There are also folk tales about how the palm got its shape. One story says that a young person climbed so high to look for a lost cow that the heavens took pity on them and turned them into a tree so they could always look over the fields and watch the animals. The leaves became their hands, reaching out.
That image of the palm as a watchful figure over the fields keeps coming back.
And that feeling shows up in customs too. Many tappers, like Vanna described, say a few words to the tree before the season begins. Families might light incense or offer a few flowers at the base of a very old palm when they decide it's time to cut it down, thanking it for a lifetime of service.
When we cut an old tree, it's not a happy day, even if we need the wood. My father would gather us and say, "Look, this tree gave us sugar when you were born, when you first went to school. We must say thank you properly." So we do a small blessing, Nothing big, but from the heart.
There's also a kind of restraint people learn. You don't just cut every young palm for quick wood or clear them without thinking, because everyone knows once it grows, it will feed children, it will shade the buffalo, it will be there longer than you.
So wrapped up in this one tree is a quiet environmental ethic, gratitude, patience, and the idea that you are in a long relationship with your landscape, not just taking from it. For our listeners who might be planning a trip to Cambodia, or for members of the Khmer diaspora listening from far away and feeling a bit homesick right now, let's get practical. How can they see and taste this world of the sugar palm with new eyes?
First, when you're driving or riding through the countryside, don't just see a pretty palm tree. Ask yourself, is that tree being tapped? Look for the little scars up the trunk or the remains of bamboo steps. Sometimes you can spot hanging containers up near the crown. That tells you this is not just scenery, it's someone's workplace.
In markets, look for blocks or cakes of palm sugar. They're often darker and more fragrant than refined white sugar, sometimes wrapped in leaves or sold in rough shapes. The seller will gladly tell you if it's from Tonle Thnot and from which province. Is this made with palm sugar or white sugar? Many vendors are proud when they can say, "This is real palm sugar from my cousin's village." You will taste the difference. More depth, more, soul.
And for those who can't travel right now, you can still explore. On my YouTube channel, I filmed palm tappers climbing at dawn and whole days of sugar making from sap collection to the final sticky cakes on a plate. So you can listen to this episode and then watch those scenes, and they will click together.
We'll link those videos in the show notes, and we'd love for you to use them as companions to this conversation. Let the sounds and sights fill in the smell of the fire and the taste of the sugar that we're trying so hard to describe here. Before we wrap up, we want to hear from you. If you've taken a photo of a palm-lined horizon in Cambodia, or you have a favorite palm-based snack, maybe a cake from your grandmother, or that one dessert you always buy at the market, share it with us.
Post your pictures or stories on social media and tag Ancient Echoes, and feel free to tag my YouTube channel as well. If you're Khmer living abroad, tell us what palm sugar reminds you of. If you're a traveler, tell us about the first time you noticed those tall trees watching over the rice fields.
We'll share some of your stories in a future episode, so your memories can become part of this tapestry too. As we come to a close, I'm thinking back to that first image of the morning tapper high above the fields. One tree, many hands, feeding children with sugar, sheltering families with its leaves and wood, filling language with proverbs and folk tales, and inviting us, quietly, to treat the land as a partner, not a stranger.
The sugar palm is such a simple sight that it's easy to overlook, but once you know its stories, you can't pass a field without feeling a little nod of respect. It's like seeing an elder sitting in the shade. You just want to greet them.
Dara, Vana, thank you both for helping us see and feel the Tonle Thnot in this deeper way.
Thank you for giving space to a tree that quietly holds so much of our everyday life. Thank you. Next time you see a sugar palm, think of the people climbing, and maybe send us a little wish for strong ladders.
If you enjoyed this journey through Cambodia's sugar palms, make sure you follow Ancient Echoes on your favorite podcast app and connect with us on social media. Share this episode with a friend who loves food, travel, or just a good story.
And don't forget to jump over to my YouTube channel to see those dawn climbs, boiling pans of sap, and palm leaf crafts in motion. Listening here and watching there together will give you the full experience.
Until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon, where the palms meet the sky. And as always, let's unlock the echoes of history together.